Welcome to Sensational Living with Liliana. I'm going to make one of my favorite dishes because I can use it as an appetizer or I can use it as a main meal on top of a salad. And this is going to be some keto calamari, gluten-free. So you can't ever get this out in the store. So every time that I go to a restaurant and everybody else is eating calamari, I just get to watch, very sadly, because I love calamari. And so today we're going to make it keto style, and we are going to use a flour that is not an almond or a coconut because those are very flaky and they don't really stay on as a good crust like you would want a nice crunchy calamari. So we're going to be using a garbanzo flour. So that would be my next venture out if I were going to go to one that isn't of a nut grain, but it's still very low carbohydrate, but it does have a higher impact than the almond or the coconut flour. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Now, the calamari, you can just get them at your local grocery store. There you get the wild caught. But anyway, it's very simple. You're just going to cut them into rings. And so you want to cut them about, I'd say, 1/4 of an inch. That probably would be good. I don't like to cut them too large because then, you want them to cook very evenly. And so the bigger, sometimes they come out a little chewy. Now what I do rather than putting an egg on it or anything that I can stick that crust onto, I'm going to use some coconut milk. And so again, just basic coconut milk out of a can, organic. And what I do a lot of times is I will just leave these marinating in the refrigerator until I get ready to cook them. And then it really tenderizes them really quite nicely. So what I've done is I put about approximately a 1/2 cup of the coconut milk in there. And then I'm probably about a little less than a pound of calamari. Now this will feed quite a crowd. And today I'm just going to be demonstrating a small amount of that, okay? Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little teeny bit of salt over this as well. But I'm going to really spice up the garbanzo flour so that it has a lot of flavor in it. Okay, so that's good. That's ready to go. Set that there. Now while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing my pan. And so you want it, now most calamari is fried, and so we don't really want to have that really heavy heat, but I am going to have to heat it up using some oil, but I'm not going to be drenching it, so it won't be like a deep fry. It'll just be a beautiful golden brown. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Now I'm going to use avocado oil. I like avocado oil because it has a really good high heating point, so I would never use olive oil on this. And coconut oil oftentimes seems to it uses up the oil too quickly in the heat. So I like avocado. I think it's a really good alternative. So I'm going to put to this probably about maybe, I'd say maybe a 1/3 of a cup of avocado oil. So let that heat up nicely. And I just put it on a good medium. Okay. Now to make your flour, this is really simple. And so what I'm going to do is put this on a plate. Now you can use a paper plate. It's easily discardable. So you're going to use about a 1/2 cup. This is my favorite seasoning, and you're going to have to get this over the internet because I've never found it in any grocery store. And this is called Aloha Organic Fish Rub. It's awesome. We found this on Kauai, and I ordered it online, and honestly, I would not cook any fish without this. So this is awesome. So I'm going to put probably about a good tablespoon. Really, this is all you need, to be quite honest with you. Maybe a little bit of pepper, but that's really it. So you just want to get it all mixed in there really nicely. Now you can always add a little bit of salt afterwards. So some people like it more saltier, so they can do that themselves. So now again, I'm just going to put a couple in at a time. Don't be afraid to get your fingers in there. Now, a lot of people don't like the tentacles because they get kind of freaked out about them because they are kind of strange looking, aren't they? But I like them. So again, for those people who don't, then they can just enjoy all of these other very smooth, texture-oriented ones. But for those of you who like a little bit of adventure and a little chew, those will work beautifully. I'm going to make a little bit of a spice to go over these. Now, if I were having this as an appetizer, this little dip that I'm going to use would be perfect as a dipping sauce. But since I'm going to just throw this on top of just a very, very simple salad for dinner tonight, I'm just going to use that just kind of as a topping. So our oil looks pretty good here, so I'm going to go ahead and start dropping these in. Now, you want to keep a good eye on these. So again, you want to make sure your oil is kind of get a little crackling when you put it in there. You don't want to overpack the pan so that they crisp up nicely since you're not actually frying them, deep frying them. So let's go with about that. That is perfect. Okay. Now I will get to these in just a moment. I'm going to put those over here to the side. Because what I'd like to do is get started on the sauce, and then that way you can see this all put together beautifully, and it doesn't take that long. And so really your meals really should take about 30 minutes from start to finish. So again, even though it looks so easy and you think, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that, honestly, it is easy. So not a whole lot of ingredients too. Okay, so let's make this sauce. Now, today I just thought I'd just be a little bit more adventurous. Normally, I just make this with some mayonnaise. Now, I like to get my mayonnaise that's with avocado oil and not canola oil or olive oil. And so I've got two kinds of mayonnaise I'm going to play with. One is a wasabi mayonnaise, and then the other one is just your regular mayonnaise. I'm going to keep my eye on this as well. So let's start with the regular mayonnaise, and I'll just gently start adding some wasabi in there just to kind of see what kind of heat I want with this. A lot of times I just use the mayonnaise and then just plain sriracha and a little bit of chipotle when I'm going a little bit more Mexican style. So let's go ahead and add a good heaping, I'd say it's about a tablespoon. So I'll go ahead and add that in there. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of gluten-free tamari in here as well. About a half of a teaspoon is all you really need in this. How are we going over here? Okay, those are looking pretty good. And then just a little bit of a lemon. So just again, I'd say probably a teaspoon at the most. So this is just how simple this is. Like I said, good gourmet cooking doesn't have to take you all day. It can just take you minutes, honestly. I'm just going to just throw a little bit, I'm going to just have a little taste before I start throwing in a little bit more wasabi in there. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a look at my calamari over here and see if I need to flip it. Looking pretty good. I'm going to turn up the heat just a tad. Now these are going to cook quite fast, and since we're not frying them, we want to make sure that they don't get rubbery on us. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip those over. Getting a nice little brown edge to them. Now the coconut milk, and some people like to use a little egg to get that coconut, the garbanzo flour to stick to it nicely. Set that right there. So let's have a little taste of this and see how we go. So I can taste the wasabi, but it's a little too forward with the mayonnaise, so I'm going to throw a little bit more of the wasabi in there. And I might even get a little adventurous and throw a little chipotle, a little bit of sriracha in there. Why not? That's the fun about cooking, is that, when you're adventurous, it's not about making it perfect, it's about making it fun. Now you want to make sure to get your oil nice and hot. I probably put it in a second too quickly, and so you can just see some of the crust is falling off a little bit, but the flavor will all be there. So get your oil nice and hot. All right, let's see if this is perfect. Otherwise, I'm going to throw a little bit of the sriracha in there just to make it a little bit more interesting. Now I can feel a little of the heat of that wasabi, but just for fun. So I put about 1/4 teaspoon in there, and let's see if this was a magic trick. Oh yeah, that was perfect. It's that little bit of sriracha just gave it that kick that we're looking for. Going to drain these a bit. It's probably a good idea to even wear an apron doing this. So again, oil can pop and will up on you if you're not careful. Sometimes when some of this crust falls off and the oil gets a little mucky, you might want to strain it. That wasabi went right down my throat. So let's go ahead and take out a little of this crust here. There's some of it that fell off. But I think we can just go ahead and throw the rest of these in here. And just for fun, since I've been having them sit here, I'm going to give them just an extra little bit more. Since the fire's nice and hot, let's see if we can get that crust to stay on there beautifully. I love wasabi, boy, it clears your sinuses out really quickly. So I just did a little extra. So I had done these a little earlier. So again, you can double coat them if you like. Because of course they are moist, so if you do them ahead of time as far as putting the flour on there, they could kind of a little bit blend into the calamari. So just a little bit more. Let's see how we go with these. These wonderful little tentacles. Okay. So wasn't that easy? It didn't really take that long, and you've got an awesome appetizer or a wonderful salad. So again, just grab, this is just baby greens with a little bit of onion on there because we're trying to keep it very keto. So even though I put a garbanzo flour, which is going to be a little bit more carbohydrates, I'm going to marry it to a really low sugar food like a lettuce. Literally, there's maybe 5 carbohydrates in here, even with that little red onion on there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and taste one of these, make sure that they got the salt that they need. Even though the crust might have fallen off just a teeny bit, they have all the flavor and they are delicious. I don't need to put anything on it. If you wanted to put a little bit of salt, a little bit more of the Aloha fish spice, that would be a good time to do it after they're out. So you can use pretty much any kind of salad dressing so long as you're using good oils. If you want to buy it, that's perfectly okay. Otherwise, I make my own, and this is just basic an apple cider vinaigrette with a little Dijon mustard. Throw these on top. There we go. So not too much, just to have it on top, just so that it gives it just that little extra flavor, and it makes it super fun. So there you have it. Super easy appetizer or a main meal, and this is what we're going to have tonight for dinner. So I look forward to seeing you in the next great experience of a delicious meal that is healthy and also at the same time going to keep your waist nice and trim. Have a great day.